Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Sarvadevaya Namaha. Om Jai Shri Ram. Hello friends, I, Nirmala Rawat, welcomes you to my YouTube channel. I am thankful for all your support. Keep on supporting me. Now, moving on to Chapter 5, Sita's Marriage, Part 1. Rajkumari Sita was not destined to rule Vidya, although it is what we all hoped and prayed for. She spent many months traveling with Janak Baba throughout the kingdom as he set up local councils, identifying leaders and directing them on how to manage their local affairs. For many of the villagers, Rajkumari Sita's presence was an indication that she was one day to be the Maharaja's successor. Maharaja Janak perceived this expectation and knew that he had to squash it, lest it led to much disappointment. So the conversation of swayamvar took place again, and again Sunaina objected, pleading for more time. We are doing the kingdom an injustice by allowing the people to believe that one day Sita will govern here, when we know this is to be untrue, Sunaina, Janak Baba told her in a firm voice. But then why have you given her this training, this knowledge, if not to govern? She will bring this knowledge wherever she goes. It is for the future and not just for Mithila. She sighed. I cannot imagine any man worthy of her. He has already made himself known to her, and I assure you he is worthy. Where is he? Who can this man be? Janak Baba shook his head, saying he didn't know, but he recounted what Sita had told him that day in the forest many months earlier. We should not stand in the way of their union. Let us organize the swayamvar. I am sure he will appear and Sita will recognize him. There was nothing more Sunaina could say. Mata did not object when her father told her it was time to organize the swayamvar. But one evening, as they were sitting together and Soma and I were serving them sweets, I heard Janak Baba mention that ever since he had announced the swayamvar, Sita's mood had changed. Will I know him? Rajkumari asked in an uncertain voice. Will I recognize him? He did appear to you, Sita. You saw his form. She shook her head. I heard his voice. I felt his presence. But I did not see a form. Baba was quiet for a few minutes and then said, Sita, everything that has come to you, all the events of your life, seem to have been predetermined, as if you had orchestrated it before being born. I have no doubt that this will be the same. She smiled. You have a way of easing my every concern. I will put the matter out of my mind. The swayamvar was still weeks away. All the Rajas in the region had been invited. Sita did indeed put the matter out of her mind by spending time in the villages and helping with the seeding of the fields. Janak Baba had taught all the farmers how to use a newly developed plough that made the redding of their fields for planting so much quicker and easier, despite the heavy labor it entailed. Rajkumari now had the desire to learn the same. One day, just before the swayamvar, she took Soma and me to one of the nearby farms and indicated her desire to help them plough the field. there was great resistance. Allowing the Maharaja to perform this arduous task was one thing, but the Rajkumari? That was quite another. But Mata insisted. Through an unexplained show of strength, she was able to proceed, seemingly without much effort. Several minutes later, she dropped the plough and fell on her knees, digging her hands deep into the soil. Soma and I ran to her, thinking she might be in need of help, but she had no such need. Look, Soma, she said. Look at Vasundharama, the gift she has given us. There is vital life in the soil that prevents illness, that keeps our bodies well, life that we cannot see or touch. As long as we keep our soil pure, disease will stay away. This is the gift of Vasundharama. Her face was glowing as she lifted handfuls of dark, rich soil and rubbed it against her cheek and then kissed the very dirt that gives us life. How little do we think of where our food comes from? She murmured. How little do we appreciate this treasure she has given? Sita released the dirt and stood up. Looking off into the distance, she murmured, He is here. I feel his presence. She then went back to ploughing. After she had completed her task, Sita thanked the farmer for allowing her to help and then inquired about the chariot that had stopped while she was in the field. It was the two Rajkumars from Ayodhya, he replied. They had stopped to request water for their horses. Ayodhya? Sita murmured to herself. She seemed lost in thought. Yes, one of the Rajkumar noticed you in the field and asked about the woman ploughing the soil. He said that he had never seen a plough like that or imagined a woman could use such an instrument. What did you tell him? I told him it was Rajkumari Sita. He seemed very surprised, but he smiled and said he was eager to meet the woman who could accomplish such a feat. Clearly, he doesn't know our Rajkumari, said the farmer affectionately. A flutter moved through Mata's body when she heard his words. She turned to Soma, and I could see the look that passed between them. I wondered if the Rajkumar from Ayodhya was the one for whom she was waiting. During the evening meal, Sunaina teased Mata about her use of the plough. How was it possible that our daughter could use such an instrument when the farmers themselves struggle? With a gleam in his eye, Janak Baba turned to Mata and said, Tell her, dear, how you accomplished such a feat. It is matter of mind, Ma. I don't have the needed strength in my body, but my mind overcame that weakness. It instructed my body what to do, and my body morally followed. It is the training Pitaji has given me. Sunaina shook her head. I am sure the whole kingdom will be speaking of it. And the Rajkumar from Ayodhya, inserted Urmila, who had heard the story of their arrival as it had already circulated through the household. They have come? Asked Sunaina in surprise. Didn't we receive a response from Maharaja Dashrath that they were away at the hermitage of Rishi Vishwamitra? It seems they have come for another purpose, to view Mahadev's bow. But no doubt they will participate in the swayamvar. He gazed at Sita as he spoke, aware of the queer that was passing through her. Mata looked away as not to betray her feelings. Suddenly, it dawned on Sunaina Ma that the Rajkumar had seen Sita ploughing in the field. A look of dismay crossed her face. They have seen you ploughing, Sita. What will they think? Mata didn't respond. They will think, what an amazing daughter we have. Janak Baba was quick to reply. Whoever wins Sita's hand will have to know who she is and will have to respect her knowledge. As far as I am concerned, that is the only requirement. Then why have we set the test to be the lifting of Mahadev's bow? Ma, it is not the strength that is needed to lift that bow, said Sita. I did it as a child. That bow can only be raised by the one Mahadev allows to lift it. It is his will that will prevail. That is the reason for this requirement. Janak Baba smiled. He had never told this to Sita, but he was pleased that she knew it. It was not strength alone that would determine who her husband would be. It was Mahadev's will, and he was increasingly coming to understand Sita's will as well. It was at the temple that they first met. Mata was performing morning aarti before the murti of Parvati Ma. He had heard of the temple's beauty and was drawn by the otherworldly singing that drifted over the hills and through the trees of Mithila. It rose to his senses like a celestial song. Mata was dressed in her best finery, as always the case when she went to the temple. Two servants, Usha and Rohana, carried the fruits and flowers for the puja. Soma was with them. They did not notice his approach, but they did notice Mata's voice grew softer and softer as she completed the aarti. When she had finished, she turned and saw him standing but a few feet from her. The servants also became aware of the presence of the two Rajkumars from Ayodhya. Mata froze, and for several minutes they didn't know whether our Mata was in our world or another. The one who appeared to be the elder of the Rajkumars also seemed freezed. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. It was the younger Rajkumar who broke the silence, introducing himself as Laxman and his elder brother Ram. Urmila responded by introducing herself and Sita. Still, there was a silence between the elder prince of Ayodhya and Mata, although they continued to gaze at one another as if in a stupor. No one knew what was taking place between them. Jai Shri Ram. Please let me know in comment section whether you liked this part. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.